All right, all right.
All right, guys, back again, episode 19. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Fantasy Stand. Go follow them on Instagram and go sign up for their fantasy games. The link's in their bio. Tonight, we got a very special guest, probably one of the coolest, cage fighting nicknames too out there. Middleweight, 13-5, Eryk, your boy Anders. Eryk, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Eryk.
Man, my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course.
Middleweight / light heavyweight sometimes.
Yeah, I get in where I fit in, you know what I mean?
All right. So my first question I have first, shout out to the Roll Tide and shout out to our future QB1 Jalen Hurts here in Philly. Cannot wait to see him in action, be a full-time starting QB. But my first question I have, so what was it like to play for the legendary Nick Saban and your time playing for the Roll Tide?
Man, I think one of the coolest things about playing for Nick Saban, other than winning a championship, is, man, I played for the greatest college football coach of all time. And it's not even a question or a debate at this point. I think if you talk about the greatest of all time in any other category or sport, it's debatable. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Tiger Woods, or, I don't really know any golfers, or, the greatest whoever is always up for debate, except college football. Nick Saban's the GOAT. There's even a debate about Tom Brady being the greatest football player of all time. But when you talk about college football, there's only one name.
Of course. And
the next name is Bear Bryant, and he's also a Alabama coach. So Alabama just has a way of finding these guys and, finding coaches that develop great talent, can find great talent, and, win games.
Mm-hmm. And then also, we can't leave this question about talking your incredible performance in 2009, 7 tackles and a forced fumble in the national championship game too against Texas.
Oh yeah, being from Texas, a lot of people ask or say that the game would have been a lot closer. Texas would have won if Colt McCoy would have stayed in the game. But truth be told, from the defensive standpoint, our whole game plan was for Colt McCoy, and to keep him in the pocket. We weren't going to rush him, put pressure, and make him beat us with his arm and not his feet, which we didn't think he was capable of doing. So, he got hurt in that first quarter, and we even spotted them 3 points. But then whenever Garrett Gilbert came in the game, we didn't know anything about him. So, he was happy to sit back in the pocket and throw the ball. Him and Shipley got on rhythm. And, the game was a lot closer than it would have been if Colt McCoy would have stayed in the game.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
You know what?
Yeah.
The best thing I always say how these top-tier colleges stay at that level, like year after year after year, and Alabama obviously has done it for the past however many years, is that they bring in the best talent every single year. So you're a freshman, you're the best freshman in the nation coming in to play for Alabama. They're looking to replace you with the best freshmen, the best seniors from the year younger than you were before that. So I feel like that's how they always, keep that program going with just bringing in the next wave of great athletes just to replace the All-Americans.
Yeah, at this point it's rinse, recycle, and repeat. He's got the process down. He preaches the process. One of the recruits even put a video up on, about Nick Saban recruiting him, Nick Saban's recruiting speech, talking about, all these other teams will say you'll come in and play immediately. You'll play before you do at Bama. You'll do this, you do that. And Saban is just like, man, when they tell you that, they're just telling you that we're better than them already. So, man, the thing that people don't understand when it comes to getting these recruits, obviously these guys want to make it to the next level. Bama probably has the most players in the NFL, drafted players at that. But Nick Saban's got a mouthpiece, man. If Nick Saban wants you, is going to get you, man. He's going to charm you. He's going to tell you, you know, he doesn't lie to you. The proof is in the pudding, but man, he's just has such a charismatic personality. And then when you combine that with his credentials, you know, how many players get drafted, the depth chart, you know, all these other things, man, how could you say no to Alabama?
You're going to win.
Exactly.
End of story, you're going to win.
All right. So let's fast forward a little bit. So like after Bama, you did have a little stint with the Cleveland Browns, some arena football, some CFL. But how did you get into MMA? Is that like something you were always fascinated with, or were you just looking at your next thing in your professional sports career?
Man, to be honest, you know, I started watching UFC. It wasn't on as frequently as it is now, man. It was probably like once a month, once every other month. And, you know, I would watch, and I was one of those tough guys who were like, man, I could beat him up. I could fight him. You know, because I thought I could fight until I fought somebody, until I, you know, sparred somebody who actually knew how to fight. And then I was like, oh, shit, I don't know anything. But the football thing didn't work out. And I, you know, so I, you know, was moved back to Alabama. And, man, you know, life just was not doing what I thought it was going to do. You know, I had a college degree, but yet, you know, I was cleaning apartments. I cleaned factories. I worked for Coca-Cola. You know, I had so many jobs that, you know, somebody, you know, without even a high school degree could have done, you know, a high school diploma could have done. And in the meantime, in between time, like I would go to lunch with, you know, business CEOs and you know, presidents of companies and stuff. And man, all they wanted to hear was stories about Nick Saban and Mark Ingram. You know, tell me about this, tell me about that. How was it playing for a national championship team?
Right.
So the whole time, you know, this happened a bunch of times, and I was thinking, oh, okay, you know, this is how it's supposed to go. You know, I come here, I talk about football, and then they offer me a job at the end. But all they were doing was paying for lunch. So that, you know, I was just, you know, it was, you know, burning a hole in my soul. It was like, man, why am I sitting here, you know, talking to you, and, you know, there's nothing at the other end of the table.
Yeah, like that has to be the worst feeling in the world too, because like, you know, like people seem that they're fascinated, but like at the end of the day, it seems like they're like puppet kind of where they want to hear stories, you know?
Yeah, well, and the thing is, you know, they got me to go to lunch under the pretenses of a job opportunity.
Right.
And, you know, I don't always talk like this. I can speak the King's English. You know, I can present myself, you know, accordingly. And, man, you know, they wanted me to tell stories for 2 hours, and then, oh, well, we don't have any job openings. Well, motherfucker, why'd you tell me to come here for that?
Oh,
you know,
my
if you
God.
had just told me, you know, we're going to lunch or whatever, I'd have came and it'd been cool. So, man, I just found myself being frustrated. Just, man, you know, walking around my fist balled up, just mad. And I'm not an angry person. You know, I'm pretty the opposite, in fact. I'm pretty chill. And so, man, I just really wanted to blow off some steam. And what better way to do that than to punch and kick a bag and, you know, choke people in jiu-jitsu. You know, I did that for a little bit. And then, man, really just wanted to take it to the next level. I was like, man, you know, I want to spar somebody.
That's
linked
awesome.
up with Walt Harris.
Yeah.
And he beat me up. But right then and there, you know, I was like, man, this is it. This is what I want to do, man, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'd wake up at like 4:30 in the morning, train before now I go to work all day and then come back and train at night. And then, so you know, I'd wake up at 4:30 and wouldn't come back home until like 11 o'clock at night.
Wow.
And then I met my wife, and, you know, she was, you know, she kind of pushed me off the ledge, if you will. You know, she was like, I got us. You know, you should just, you know, quit your job, give it 2 years. And, you know, if it doesn't work out after 2 years, you can go get a job and do anything. I was like, okay, cool. And then almost 2 years to the day, I knocked out Rafael Natal.
Yep. That
Okay,
is
cool.
unbelievable.
Yeah, that is a hell of a story.
Yeah.
So one question I do want to touch up on. So these are like some of my favorites. My next two questions. So talk about amateurs. So obviously, you were in amateurs when you were in your 20s and all. But what were some of your achievements and records? And like, when did you know you were ready to go pro? Was it a certain amount of fights in your head, or you just wanted to get down to become a pro?
Well, man, I really didn't know. I didn't have a timeline, you know. I have zero experience in MMA. I have JV level experience, wrestling. But I wanted to make sure I was prepared because I just had a feeling that when I turned pro, it wouldn't be long before I made it to a bigger promotion, whether it's been Bellator or, UFC or whatever, just because of the football background and the fan base behind it. I know that these bigger promotions like that story. And so when I first started fighting, man, I was like 250 pounds. So I was fighting heavyweight. Then, as I was training, my physique started to change, lost a lot of body fat, so now I was walking around at like 230, fought at 205. And then people have suggested, like, you should fight at 85. And I was like, hell no, there's no way I can cut that kind of weight. There's no way. But then Marcus Brimage trained out of our gym. And he was a 45er in the UFC, a 45, 35er. And he fought in Vegas one day, and then, man, we went out there, and it was John Jones and Daniel Cormier the first time they fought. And I saw the size of those two, and I was like, yeah, 85 is the move. So, like, my last 4 or 5 amateur fights was just really me trying to figure out how to make 85, and again, before I met my wife, I'd be like 215 with like, 10%, 7% body fat.
Yeah.
Trying to make 185 the week of the fight. You know what I mean? So I just wouldn't eat, run, and I'd still miss weight. And then my wife came along and she's like, man, you're doing this way wrong. And she showed me, like, you should actually eat more. And, so it speeds up your metabolism stuff and whatnot. And now, 185 isn't, very difficult at all to make.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for for going into that too. Yeah. I mean, we always love to hear those answers with amateurs and all too. Like, it is awesome story that you have with a background and all. So this one, I love to show that that fighters are human. Maybe it wasn't, since you're a former Division I football player, so you've played through all those nerves and stuff. But I really want to get inside of your head and how you felt for your pro debut fight. So your pro debut fight was on a SHP card 40. It was on August 22nd, 2015 versus Josh Raspberry. First round knockout, of course. But prior to the fight, were you nervous at all? Did you have any type of butterflies in your stomach, or were you just ready to get out there and show everybody what you could do?
Man, to be honest, man, I knew that the guy I was fighting, like, I've seen him fight several times as an amateur, just around the local circuit. So I already knew, there wasn't a snowball's chance that this kid could beat me.
Okay.
Regardless of how much training I had or he had, there was no way. So I already knew what was up. But not, I wasn't really nervous, but, I had to go out there and knock the guy out. Deontay Wilder was there.
Oh, wow.
He actually
Okay.
walked out with me. So I was like, man, this dude has like the highest knockout percentage in boxing history. So it's only right that I go out there and knock this dude out. So
40 seconds.
I think I knocked him out in like 53 seconds.
Oh,
yeah,
my God.
yeah. So mission accomplished.
Damn, yeah, that is dope that you had Deontay Wilder come out with you for your pro debut fight. That is awesome. Wow.
Yeah, the fight was in Tuscaloosa, and he's from Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, yeah.
And the promoters were really good friends with him, so I'm sure it wasn't nothing for him to drive across the street to the arena there and hang out.
Yeah.
So, Eryk, real fast. So obviously playing for Alabama, you probably played in front of 70 1,000 people, and now fighting in front of, I don't know what the biggest arena you ever fought at was. I know you've been on, very high level UFC pay-per-views. What's the difference in playing football in front of that many people and fighting in front of that many people?
Man, in football, there's 21 other people on the
Yeah.
field, and
Mhm.
mostly, just like every other sport, there's a lot of like casual fans, like they're diehard fans, but man, they don't know what cover 2 and cover 3 is. They don't
Mhm.
know what a blitz is, or they don't know any of that stuff. They just follow the ball. So one, I play defense, so the only time they're looking at me is if I'm tackling somebody. And two, there's 21 other people on the field for them to look at, so they're not really necessarily just focused on me. But in MMA, yeah, the crowd is a lot smaller, but all those eyes in that smaller arena are on me and the other guy. So, yeah, there's a big difference. If you get hit, the crowd's going to let you know. If you hit him with a solid shot, the crowd's going to let you know. So, but now there is no crowd. So,
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
I much rather prefer the fans because the energy of the crowd, I think sways the fight. You know what I mean? Like it's when you rock somebody and you hear everybody, so I gotta go kill this guy now. But not quite like that so much. It's more instinctual. I think without the crowd.
Yeah. Awesome analogy. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was really cool to hear. Yeah. And like it makes sense too with all the football players on the field where there's 22 other guys that they're all looking at and too and all. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. So let's fast forward a little bit too. So you started out 10-0. But what was it like and where were you when you got that call to be on the UFC card in 2017?
Man, I think I was just at home on the bed, just chilling. And I know Jason House with Iridium Sports, my manager, and I know every time he calls me, it's about business. You know what I mean? Whether it be a sponsor, whether it be an opportunity for this or that, or mainly a fight. So, man, he called me probably like 2 weeks before and asked if I wanted to fight, but I had just fought maybe 2 weeks before for the LFA belt, and I'm pretty sure I had like I won't say my hand was all the way broke, but I had something going on with it, man. My hand looked like the State Puff Marshmallow Man. It was just fat and swollen. I was like, dude, there's no way I could swing this thing. So I wasn't even training or doing nothing. And then he called me 2 weeks later with the same thing. He's like, hey, there's a short notice opportunity. This guy's third opponent. You'll be the third guy offered to hop on the tall. And I just feel like I couldn't say no twice. And yeah. Like, so I had 10 days to cut from like 238 to 185, and I did it. And
holy
yeah.
shit.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, it all paid off because you wound up getting Rafael out of there in the first round. But yeah, that must be insane and mentally and physically draining just to shred all that weight. Like, it's got to be crazy. I mean, like we had like heard guys, like Jorge when he fought Usman had to lose 20 pounds in 6 days, and then you had Pat Sabatini from here, where me and Nick are from. Northeast Philly had to cut 20 pounds in 6 days too to make his UFC debut, but it got
I know who
called
Pat
off.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully Pat gets another shot, but that
I
must
actually got to
suck.
call one of his fights. I mean, look, that was my opportunity. So, man, there was just not a snowball's chance that, I was going to pass that up a second time because I just feel like they were going to call a third time, saying they'd probably be like, man, screw this guy. We offered him twice.
Right.
And he said, no, regardless of the circumstances, they don't care about that. Yes or no is the answer. And that's all they care about. The reason why, it's whatever. So, I got a pass on the first one and couldn't say no the second time.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, you made You made the right decision for sure. So obviously you're still young in your MMA career. You've had 18 fights, but what was your favorite fight so far? Whether it's in the UFC or even before in the UFC, but what was your favorite fight by far that just keeps playing over and over in your head?
My favorite fight was probably Thiago Santos, regardless of the result. I think that's the first and only time I've ever been pushed to my limitation. And man, as an athlete, man, you kind of look for that. You think you've been there before, but man, until you're stumbling across the cage trying to get back to your corner and passing out on the way, man, you haven't reached it. And it's not a metaphor. It's not a figure of speech, man. Literally couldn't go no further. And and the fight before that, the 15 minutes before that was fun, even though I was, getting punched a lot, and, I was also doing some damage to him. And, I think, it was a back and forth affair, and fans liked it. Got fight of the night. So
50 G's.
Picked up an extra 50K. So that always, that's always a little soothing to pick up that kind of cash. Plus, it was a main event. It was in Brazil. And, man, I fought in Brazil. I fought Machida. But, man, it really wasn't the Brazilian experience that I thought. People were so friendly and nice. And, I just kind of felt like, they made me feel like a celebrity walking through Belém, Brazil. But when I was in Sao Paulo, none of that. People would tell me I was going to die on the way. Just a hostile crowd. I really got the away. Yeah. It was almost like when Bama goes to LSU, man, those people aren't nice, man. They're shaking the bus. There's little 4-year-old kids, little fingers hanging out of strollers, shooting you the bird. You know what I mean? So that's how it was in Brazil.
Man.
It was a hostile environment. But after the fight, man, they were all super respectful. They loved it. They loved the fight, regardless of me being a foreigner or not. It was like a standing ovation.
Yeah, well, Eryk, I mean that really doesn't sound any different than us versus the Cowboys. I mean, we got toddlers giving the middle fingers to Dallas fans and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why Philly is called the city of brotherly love, man.
Oh,
That's one of the most hostile fans in all of sports.
Yeah, we are far from it. Trust me.
They don't love you too much.
All right, so I have 2 more questions, and I'm going to pass it on to Nick. So these are fun ones. So obviously with the pandemic, we were on lockdown and all. So were there any new shows that you picked on watching on Netflix that you found yourself watching a lot?
Not really so much because of COVID, but because I'm home or I'm away from the family, so it's just me over here. So I have a little bit more free time. I don't have to help do homework or take kids to practice or anything. Man, I'm in like the 4th season of The Walking Dead right now.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it. Can't really say I'm a fan of the show just because it's kind of annoying. Like, I just feel like these people, I'm not an emotional person, and I don't have issue making choices and decisions without emotion. And these people on this show are doing the dumbest stuff. And I'm just like, man, listen, your life is literally on the line, man. One bite and it's over with. So why is this an issue for you to do what you got to do? So I'm going to finish it just because I started it, but I think I'm going to move on to Game of Thrones next.
Okay. Ooh, okay. All right.
So The Walking Dead, I've watched the whole entire series. It just progressively gets worse. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
The first couple seasons.
It's really pissing me off, man. I find myself just like, God, just kill him.
Yeah.
Kill him. And then as a result of them not doing this stuff,
they die.
10 people die. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, all this could have been avoided if you just pulled the trigger. It's easy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So my last fun one. Okay. Yep. So my last fun one I have. So I'm not sure if you've been to Philly or not, but we usually ask what everyone's favorite Philly cheesesteak place is. But instead of asking that, so what's your favorite cheat meal after a fight that you always eat the next day, or it could be after
Man,
the fight?
man, it's funny that you say Philly cheesesteak because Philly. I've never been to Philly, or I've never
Ah,
had a Philly cheesesteak in Philly, but Philly cheesesteak is one of the top. I always find a place that has a Philly cheesesteak, and I get it because I just love Philly cheesesteaks. So I guess I gotta go to Philly
yeah,
and
Yeah.
get one, but
you
it's got to
never
be
had
authentic,
a.
dude.
You got to get
I
a
need
real
to get
Philly
it from
cheesesteak.
from the stand outside, But I don't want
Yes.
to go to a restaurant. I want to get it, like outside of a football game or something.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's on my bucket list.
Oh, all right. So what is your favorite meal after a fight?
Oh, baby, I'm a burger, pizza, beer, and candy guy, and that's all I eat pretty much outside of fighting. So that's why my weight gets so high in between fights because it's one extreme or another. I'm either eating like trash or eating super clean, and when I get the abs come back, the muscle definition comes back. But in between fights, you wouldn't even think that I fight or even exercise at all. I
That's
don't have any
funny.
abs. I get a little belly. Get my dad bod going.
Of course, yeah. I'm in the same boat as you, so you shouldn't feel bad now, Joe. All
No,
right.
I don't. Trust me.
All right, Nick, it's all you now.
All right. So Eryk, I actually want to get into like the cut to 185. How brutal is that for being such a a bigger human being like yourself?
Man, it really just comes down, just like anything else, man. You have to be disciplined in what you do. I can't be running around eating Philly cheesesteaks a week before the fight. You know what I mean? I'll never see the 90s. I'll never even see below 200.
Right.
Like I said, it's one extreme or another. I just, how bad do you want it? All these guys who miss weight, it's not what they did the night before. It's what they did 3 or 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So I really have to be disciplined and maintain. And you can always tell by my physique, I think, when I get on the scale, if I did it right or did it wrong. You know what I mean? But it can be easy or as hard as I want it to be. It's pay me now or pay me later.
Hmm.
It can suck for a little bit over time, or it can suck a lot. At the end. So I choose to let it suck a little bit and pass up the burgers, pizza, and beer and stuff.
Right.
Because I know after the fight I'm gonna have a week or two off or whatever, and I can eat until I hate myself. So, um, yeah, and 20%, 30% of my money, man, I
Hmm.
can't give that up.
Right.
Period. So that's really the biggest motivation right there.
Right. So I was going to ask you, what weight class do you feel most comfortable at? Because I know you fought at light heavyweight. I know you fought at 185. I feel as if, I mean, you played at the highest level of college football, and played some professional. Your athleticism is maybe better than some of these fighters at each of those classes. So which weight class do you feel more comfortable at?
Man, I would say obviously 205 is way easier to make,
Right.
but at 85, man, fighting is on my mind 24/7. If I fight at 205, once I leave the gym, I'm not even thinking about it because I can just go across the street, grab a
Hmm.
beer, get a pizza, get a burger, whatever. When I fight at 85, no, I can't have this. No, I can't have that. No, I can't do this. No, I can't do that. And so I just feel more disciplined. And I don't know if it's like a placebo effect, but mentally I feel more prepared um, fighting at middleweight just because, it's always on my mind. At 205, if I'm hungry, I'll go eat. At the middleweight, if I'm fighting at middleweight, if I'm hungry, I have to be, pick and choose what it is I'm eating, when I'm eating it, what time I'm eating it, before bed, when I wake up, what I'm eating varies. So, and on top of all that, dude, the 205ers, man, they're not my size. These guys are 6'4",
Right.
6'3", 6'4", 240. They're doing the same thing to get to 205 that I'm doing to get to 185.
Mm-hmm.
and they're way more durable and they hit way harder. So if I can make 85, I'm gonna do it because I haven't been doing this my whole life, so the skill set is always lopsided, and I just I can't just necessarily rely on athletic ability because man, these guys are thumping.
Right.
So I like middleweight, but I really don't pass up fights. So they asked me to fight at 205. We can get it there too.
Right. So you're like the most. You're one of the few that are. Like Nate Diaz always says, is like there's only a few real guys in this. People are saying no to fights, no to this, no to that. The sport needs more of the guys to say yes, no, when and where. Like Cowboy Cerrone, like for instance. So you're like one of those guys too. So that's huge.
Hey, the only time I've ever said no was like due to injury. I was gonna fill in and fight. What's the redhead 205 or short fuse? Ed Herman, but I was waiting on the COVID test to come back. So I said yes, but I was like, but my COVID test comes back tomorrow. So just wait till tomorrow. And if it's yes, then if it's negative, then I'll go fight. But then, they found Mike Rodriguez. So
yeah.
No. But outside of that, like I really don't say no.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, man, you got a great fight coming up against Darren Stewart. I want to get into that a little bit. How do you see that fight going? You guys are both, pretty respectful. You don't really talk no trash. You just go in there, do your thing. How do you see that fight going against Darren?
Man, I'm very interested to see what his game plan is going to be. I know he's been training with Hamza Chimaev,
yep.
The Swedish guy. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's working on his wrestling. Maybe he tries to implement his wrestling. But I think option A for him is the hands. There's no question, no secret. He likes to box. He likes to strike. He's going to march forward. I'm going to march forward. And he throws heavy leather. I'm going to throw heavy leather. And I think it's to be the one who touches the other one first and the most and often. So, I don't think that he's fought very many lefties. I think Carl Robertson is the only one that he's fought, at least from the film that I can see anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that was super early in his career. He was throwing a lot of spinning stuff, just like, he's like button mashing in that fight. But now he seems more calculated, more precise, gave Kevin Holland hell,
mm-hmm.
And arguably even won that fight. So, man, whenever you lose a fight that you and a lot of people think, including the guy that he fought, Kevin Holland even said that he won. You're fighting with the chip on your shoulder, so I'd expect him to come out, gunsling. So, we all know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go forward.
Right.
I'm gonna try and land the left hand. So again, no secret. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so that's the same thing I was saying last night. Some great fights last night, man. We had our guy Chris Dawkins from Northeast Philly fight Alexei Oleinik, and I said this fight can go either two ways. Either Chris Dawkins is going to TKO him or knock him out, or he's going to get submitted by Alexei, who's been doing it his whole entire career. And luckily for Chris, he was on the winning end of that.
I looked at that fight because I like to bet,
mm-hmm.
and I knew. I think he was the favorite, so that's why I didn't bet.
Yeah.
But man, Alexei Oleinik, man, that guy got knocked out in 12 seconds by Walt Harris. Overing, I just don't think that his chin is there, and Dawkins, he doesn't look like the physical specimen over him or nothing like that, but man, he's pretty fluid on his hands, man. He moves really well. And he puts the punches together really well. So, man, I just knew that he's going to get him out of there.
Yeah, he's very fast for heavyweight division. Very fast hands, like you said. But I actually have a question about his brother. Are you aware of who his brother is?
Who's his brother?
Your weight class, 185.
In the UFC?
Yep.
Who all has he fought?
So he fought Brendan Allen, who you beat, and he took that fight on a week's notice and lost that to a decision. And then he fought Dustin Stolfus, who was like 13-1, beat him. And then he's fighting some Russian guy, or I forget what he is, coming up soon.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about him.
All right, so now you get to look out for him. Yeah, both brothers are in the UFC, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's dope. That's cool, man. I know Mama's proud about that.
Yeah, right. What I really wanted to ask you was, I never seen anything like this in the UFC before, where you come in, you get 2 wins, and then you're on a Hawani show, and I'm pretty sure after your second win, you called out Lyoto Machida, and you got that fight. You got what you wished for, and you were on Hawani talking about that. And Hawani was trying to say, like, do you think it's too soon? Do you think this? Do you think that? And you were being, no, it's not too soon, because this is who I want to test myself against. What were your thoughts when you got that fight and when they said yes? And did that kind of like open up, like in that fight, did that like give you like the best experience overall in the fight, in all of your fights before?
It really opened my eyes to how judges score fights, because
yes, I agree with you 100%.
This is my thing, and this has happened to me like twice. Him and Theodore were kind of similar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hit him with everything, made him bleed, dropped him, I think, in like 3 out of the 5 rounds. Had top control. He was running around the cage the whole time, and he wasn't doing anything but flicking his foot at me.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my head, I'm like, that ain't shit. That ain't shit. I'm winning this fight. You know, he may have touched me more, but I was hurting him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and then after the fight, before they read the announcement, the decision or whatever, you know, he's walking around with his head down. So even he thought that he lost that fight. You know what I mean? And I said this after that fight. If that fight happens anywhere else on earth except for Brazil, I win that fight.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you.
That's my decision. And so it was pretty frustrating, but and you know, even more frustrating than taking away and my undefeated record was I got half my check. So you know, the whole ordeal was just like whatever. I was over it, you know, pretty quick. But yeah, so now I'm just like, okay, so now I gotta go out there and finish people, because I'm never ever gonna fight like that. You're never gonna see Eryk Anders point fight. That's not the way. That's not what I do, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not my style, and I'm not gonna change. You know, I think I can have more output, but man, I'm trying to get cats out of there.
Yep.
You know, that's what they pay me to do, is to finish fights, not to run around in circles and touch. You know, it's not fun. It's not entertaining. It's not anything that I want to, you know, my style to be associated with. So really just kind of opened my eyes to how judges see fights. I think one of the judges was, man, what's my man's name? Tony Weeks. You know, he's a boxing rep.
Yeah.
What does he know about MMA? You know, he's counting a jab, or, you know, a lot of those kicks that he threw, you know, were hitting my elbow and my arm and stuff. So they're not even that's a block. You know, that's not a landed strike. So, man, the judges, you know, you see it time in and time out. They really don't know what they're doing, what they're looking at, or even how to judge a fight. They're just flipping a coin sometimes. And the coin landed on Machida that night.
Yeah. Joe, should we get out of here and log back on and do it?
Eryk, are you down to talk a little bit more? So we have like a 40-minute limit. So this is probably gonna shut off like in 20 seconds. But are you cool for Nick to finish up? I think like Nick's probably got like another 10 minutes with you.
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
All right, cool.
All right, cool. So we're gonna exit out of here and just rejoin.
Okay.
All right. Thanks,
cool.
Eryk.